Hello everybody, my name is Roxtus,
And I'm Soulgale.
and welcome back to Warframe. Wow,
Oh,
are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, so Saryn How To. Wow,
Saran.
Saryn.
It just went back twice.
Saryn drops from Sedna, she drops from Marrow, from Kayla to Thane. How do you get her is you go through the arenas here. It's a prerequisite to get some judgment points, and as soon as you get up to 25, you're going to be able to go ahead and hit the assassination target. And that's pretty much all the parts that you need for Saran. You're going to get all the components you need. On to the abilities, yes?
Yes.
Alrighty. So, passive. Status effects inflicted upon enemies last 25% longer. This is toward weapons and also her abilities. This just adds 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds, depending on what status is affected to the enemy. Doesn't really change too much, but it is pretty nice for condition overload. If you're looking at something like condition overload, to be able to just proc all your statuses so that you get as much damage as you can off of condition overload. Spores. This is going to be your number one ability. This is going to take you all the way through levels 100 positive. Spores. Inflict a target with a pox of corrosive spores. Spread spores to nearby enemies or by destroying them or killing their host. The longer the spore spreads, the more the damage will increase. The drain for this is 25. Range is casting range, 60 meters. Damage per second, this is a flat, so this is 10 per tick, so this is just how much damage it does on a base. Damage growth per enemy, so as long as a spore is afflicting a target, it'll increase the damage that you actually deal with spores, and there will be a bottom right indicator telling you how much damage is getting racked up per each enemy. As long as there's a spore on each of those enemies, each enemy will gain you 2 damage, and this will actually increase and grow and grow and grow into pretty much an indefinite number, as long as you are able to actually find more enemies to be able to kill without killing them all. Status chance is a chance for 50% status for corrosive proc. Corrosive, as we know, does 80% armor strip, goes from 26% and then adds 6% over another 10 ticks or another 9 ticks of the proc. So it has an initial tick which does 26% strip, and then it adds 6% all the way to 54% at 9 ticks, and then it adds that 26 plus the 54 and you get 80% strip. This can be actually further increased. I did not know this. I actually just randomly ran across it and I was just informed about it, which is there is an emerald shard. The emerald shard will increase the amount of stacks that you can actually stack with corrosive. Now you can actually add on 2 emerald shards, which you need at least 4 extra stacks to be able to increase the stack by 24 additional percent, which that 80 would then go to 104% armor strip. So this I usually would recommend for, hey, you know, at least levels 100, and then it starts falling off because you only have 80% armor strip. This will do pretty much any level at this point. I do not have any emerald shards. I have not actually tested that out. But knowing what I know of armor strip, and you're not going to have any resistances, and you have a damage that will just keep on rising, this will pretty much kill anything beyond level 100, maybe even 200, even going further beyond that, depending on if that actually works with the corrosive stripping 100% armor. So that is actually pretty good. So the status chance is just to be able to get a corrosive proc off. It's 50% on a base. Spread radius is if you kill an enemy or if you hit a bubble or a spore, if it pops, how far away will the next enemy be able to get hit by? So that's pretty much what that is. Spread radius. Decay rate is if you lose all your units, all your enemies that you can actually hit with your spores, and your spores can't latch on to another target and start draining and sucking the life out of them. Mm-hmm. If you can't find anything in the area, it'll start to decay your overall stacks, how much damage stacks you actually have on spores, and it'll start ticking down, and you'll start losing those stacks. So if you can't find anything and everyone's dead, it'll start going pop, and it'll pop, and it'll start decaying, and you'll start losing all of your stacks. And this is what I would kind of consider a flow. Just your water is coming in, it's rising, it'll get to the top of where it's supposed to be and be able to kill as much as it can kill. And then as soon as it goes over what it can kill and it kills it too quickly, that's the point where you'll start having this issue where you'll start having a fall. And you can be able to reapply it, but the problem is being able to have more enemies and more enemy units. So this is really useful in survival, where you have multiple units and they keep on coming at you, and you can keep on applying it, and your damage number will just keep on rising. So that's something that's really interesting to take note of. Reset decay. Reset decay is basically based upon if you're trying to hit another unit with the same ability or with spores again, it'll lose 20% of its damage upon recasting the ability. It's basically a reset decay. I don't know why it's a reset decay, but you just cast it again, and if you want to cast it again on a different set of targets to be able to inflict the spores onto all those different units, and you hit the bubble upon cast on the second cast of the ability, it'll take 20% of your damage in your spores, and it'll take 20% off of that. Both the decay rate and reset decay can also be reduced. Reset decay can be reduced by, if you have 100% duration, it'll reduce it down to 5% instead of 10%, so it halves the amount that is actually decayed rate by 50%. As long as you have 100% duration, it goes down to 5. Reset decay, if you have power strength, every 50% power strength reduces reset decay by 5%, going to 150% at 5%, basically being a quarter remainder. So that's pretty interesting. This is a very good ability. This can pretty much kill anything in the area. It's a very good ability. This is one of the most ridiculous ones that I've seen so far. Molt. Shedding her skin like a snake, Saryn leaves a decoy behind to draw fire from enemies. Drain is 50, duration is 40 seconds on a base, health is 500. Now we have a problem. I did some testing. I went into Simulacron. I was like, what is this? There is a 3-second decoy invulnerability time where it takes damage in and it converts it into health. And you can actually see when there is that gray bar up on above the specter, that you can actually see, hey, it's invulnerable. And when units fire on it, it gains health. You'll actually see the health ticking upward. So I'm kind of wondering, this is kind of like Nyx and Frost again. Why is this not written into the ability? So another thing there again that we haven't seen in the ability, it's not actually written into the ability, and nowhere do we actually see it in the ability. So it'd be nice to actually see some details on that underneath the ability description. And radius of 10 meters. This is for the blast radius. When the decoy gets killed, it'll go ahead and do a radius of 10 meters blast, and it'll blast off with some toxic damage, which is really useful because for anything Corpus, it'll pretty much instantly kill level 30s plus. Speed multiplier is 1.5. This speed multiplier is just movement speed, and I believe it might be weapon speed as well. Buff duration is just 5 seconds, so it's a very short burst. It just lasts for 5 seconds, and then it's pretty much gone. Another thing to take into account is that this also status cleanses. So if you get anything on you like toxin or any nasty status effect that you don't want, you just hit the ability and it'll immediately cleanse whatever status it is that you want off of you. Now this is interesting because it's also not written in the ability. And another thing that isn't written in the ability, and that's not written in any single one of these abilities, is, you guessed it, casting time. There is no casting times underneath any of these abilities, so it'd be really interesting to actually see what your casting time is, and especially for Necros or someone who has a very high casting time, to be able to know what your casting times are. All right. Toxic Lash. While active attacks deal additional toxin damage, this effect is doubled for melee strikes. Instantly burst spores when attacking afflicted enemies. So when you have spores on a target, to be able to burst the spores, you can use Toxic Lash and immediately burst those spores. Also, toxic damage is pretty much one of our favorite damage types because it straight up ignores shields and is very useful for Corpus.
Oh, yeah.
Drain is 50. Extra damage is 30%. This is buffed to 60% for melees, as it states in the ability. This effect is doubled for melee strikes, and the duration is 45 seconds on a base. Miasma. Release a poisonous miasma that deals viral damage to enemies in the range. Foes afflicted by the spores are more susceptible to the mist. Drain is 75, radius is 20 meters. Damage per second is 150 viral damage. Duration is 6 seconds, so it's not a very long-lasting ability. And the spore damage multiplier here is a 4 times multiplier. Now, the interesting thing with miasma is viral damage on a base. One tick of viral on the status effect deals 100% increased damage. And every tick after that adds 25%, stacking up to 9 times. When you do the math behind this, this equates to 325% increased damage plus 1, and you get 425% increased damage. If you're using melee, this will come into use quite a bit because viral is pretty good for just multiplying your damage. But since we only have one status proc here, we have 100% increased damage from viral damage. So we have a 2 times multiplier to any damage from viral. And then spores, I don't know if this is multiplied through spores, but spores on this ability do a 4 times damage multiplier. So you take 2 multipliers, what do? You multiply them straight across. You get an 8 times damage multiplier when you hit miasma straight from spores. Ooh. So spores, if you can't kill things are too tough, and you're getting into a sticky situation, hit miasma. You get a 8 times damage multiplier. This is substantial. This is really good. Alrighty. Well, should we go into debuts?
Yeah.
All right. So this is my only build for Saryn. We have Steel Charge, adds melee damage. Prime Sure-Footed, if you've seen the Trinity video, it's nice not to get knocked down. It's nice to stay on your feet all the time. Arcane Energize for energy. Arcane Guardian for armor. We have Primed Flow for more maximum battery. We don't really use any of her augments. I don't believe any of her augments are actually useful for doing a regular run. We have Umbral Vitality for more health. Of course, we do not want to die, so it's nice to negate toxin damage. Umbral Intensify is add 55% ability strength here from 44 to 55%. We are going to be looking at, for spores, we are trying to get our reset decay to that 150%. And the decay rate, trying to get that as low as possible, but more so the reset decay, because we want to be able to spam this ability pretty much at this point and not have a whole bunch of damage taken off of the ability. Decay rate is only when you have lost the ability and there's no one in sight. At that point, you could just be in a mission where there's not a lot of enemies spawning, something not like a survival mission. But since we are going to be spamming this ability, we're going to be more focused on the reset decay, and also we're going to be focusing on the damage growth per enemy, which is also affected by ability strength. The more that you have strength on this ability, the typically better this is, because you're going to be adding more and more and more damage per tick, and that's all affected by ability strength. Same thing with the status chance for corrosive. We want as much ability strength as we can just to make sure that our corrosive is actually proccing and stripping all that armor. This is really good for later game. as well. So a lot of power strength there. So we need at least 150% to be able to get that reset decay down to 5%. So I think we should start off with range. We definitely need a lot of range for this ability. It's a very short range for this. So we're going to pop on full range. I know that it does negate ability strength here, so we will be trying to work that back. If you don't have as much ability range, it just isn't as potent as if you did have ability range. You need to be able to hit multiple things, infect multiple things with your sickness, and be able to just kill everything on the map. So it does negate 60% ability strength. We do need 150. Now we need 210 because we negated 60%. We're going to be adding on primed continuancy for a little bit added extra ability duration for spores as well. But we're going to be going back with transient fortitude. Now we have 110, so we need 100%. We were going to add that back by blind rage, so we only need 1% left to be able to get full power strength on this build. So this is pretty good. You can, if you wanted to, because of tower shards, I added a whole bunch of 10% added on tower shards. You can add on umbral fiber for a little bit more armor, and that would make you a little bit more tanky. But because everything dies pretty quickly, pretty readily, you don't really need this. You can, though, however, swap it out with transient fortitude, get yourself a little bit more ability duration. That does take the decay rate down to 7%. But I just find, especially with her, she kills things so quickly, you can just go full power strength and you'll just be able to make it. There's no real issues with this build here.
Yeah.
Now, I do have that 1% added back from one Crimson Archon shard. The thing, though, that you could do is add a yellow to a blue, and you get an emerald shard, and you can take that emerald shard, and you'll be able to make some added stacks onto your corrosive. So you can get up to 14 stacks on your corrosive. This will get you to 100% armor strip. That would be really lovely. I haven't tested it out, as I've said, but this would be able to kill really, really high levels, probably even past the 200s point. If it didn't have as much armor strippage as it does now, especially with the emerald shards, I would say usually that as soon as you hit levels hundreds or a little bit past that, you'll see the ability start to fall off. But since we can get now emerald shards, this ability probably will go all the way to 200s, even past that, because of the stacking damage. Nasus really hits hard when he wants to hit hard, and this really does well. Alrighty, should we try it out?
Yeah.
Alright. She's a monster. She is straight up a monster.
Don't people call her the Queen of Warframe?
Yes. Yes, she's very good.
Yeah.
She's a very good frame. And now she has 100% armor strip,
Which is nice.
which is really nice. I gotta get my hands on an emerald shard now.
Your job is to distract the enemy while a fellow Tenno operative raids the ship. with
Also,
much-needed
the
supplies.
Void is the Prime's best friend.
Presence known.
Yeah. So each emerald shard does add on 2 stacks. So you only need 2 emerald shards to be able to. And if you need a Tau forged, it won't really make a difference because it only goes up to 3 stacks. You will need 4, so you'll need at least 2 emerald shards for this. Did you cast?
Yes, I did.
Oh, death is incoming.
Death.
You people better fear the Reaper.
My counter is going up and they're dying
Look
too
at-
quickly.
All this death. All of the death.
All the death.
I'm not
No.
even doing anything.
My decay.
Did you get decayed?
A little bit. This would help if it was higher levels.
Oh yeah. You could even probably do Steel Path.
Probably.
Life support incoming.
I didn't mean to do that.
But as you can see, things are dying really quickly.
Very much so dying.
So level 40s, no challenge for her.
Delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you
Oh, poop. Okay, there we go. I've infected more people. There.
Are they dying?
Yes.
And it's actually the reason why I'm not using my abilities too much per se is because if you have two Sarans going at the same time, they kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really help to have two people's abilities going off at the same time. Especially for Saran.
Yeah. Hello, Vor. Look at all the damage numbers.
I think the highest I've ever gotten on the ability is at least 5,000 maybe?
Kind of almost 6,000, I think.
I think so, yeah, somewhere around that number. But you've got to be real high level for it to actually hit that far.
Yeah. Oh, look at all those damage
Oh,
numbers.
golly, that's not even me, is it?
Nope, that's me.
Wow.
Oop, oop, it just flung me. Why did it fling me?
And my asthma will just straight up kill anything, I would think.
Yeah.
The Eximus is tanky enough, he's taking it.
additional life support has arrived.
He's like, I will survive. And he's got 10 ticks of corrosive on him. So he's 80% strip right now.
Wow.
Feed me. Oh boy.
I just got a whole bunch. I just infected a whole bunch of people.
That is a lot.
That is a lot of damage.
And it's so fun though at higher levels because it's just a walk in the park.
I'm up to 1,000 damage.
I got 1,000 damage too.
Woo.
Almost 500. Can it make 500? No! It died before it got 500.
Mine's still going.
You at 2,000 yet?
Almost.
Now, this is what a real Warframe looks like.
All my damage went down. No! Don't decay on me, please.
You gotta hit somebody.
I am.
Oh. Now they're dying again. By sickness. Ouch.
The raid is off to a successful start.
Look at that.
Look at all of the infectiveness.
You will see the wave though. Go up and then go down. Oh, is it time already? I
Yeah.
don't want to go though.
We got to.
You'll see the
Unfortunately.
you'll see the wave though go up and it'll go down. just because there's so much damage and these are very low levels. So it's kind of interesting to see. It's like as soon as it bypasses a certain amount of damage, it'll just instantly kill everything on the board.
Yeah.
And then it has to replace everything while you're waiting for the decay to come back. But yes. Very, very good. Alrighty. Yes. The queen. The queen of Warframe.
The queen of Warframe.
She is a beast.
Yeah.
I don't think out of all the Warframes that we have that anything is actually going to be this tops mag. Definitely tops mag. Because as soon as you get to level 200s, if this is true, what you can do now with the Ember, is it Ember or Emerald?
Emerald.
If you can do that with the Emerald Archon shards, and you can strip 100% strip, you've got a stacking passive that grows with the enemy level. So at any level, you're going to be pretty much able to kill anything. This is scary.
Yeah.
She should be every enemy's worst nightmare. She can just scare them. Gosh. Well, is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
And we will see you guys in the very next video. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye!